In the realm of video game development, there's so many people contributing to one team to make one project. And I mean, the answer for me would be pretty easy if it was an easy question. My answer would be Bungie from the Halo trilogy days. That would be my favorite game developer of all time. But that's not the Bungie we have today. And most of the people that I would associate with that time period are not even there. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with these names, but I think of Marty O'Donnell, who did the music. I think of Joseph Staten, who did a lot of the writing. I think of Jamie Grisomere, who came up with the term that everyone likes to repeat, the 30 seconds of fun. Jason Jones, just a lot of people that I associated with that team are not there anymore. They haven't been there for a long time. So Bungie, as it stands today, is not really somebody that I know that well. I didn't play any of Bungie's games prior to Halo. They did Marathon, the original Marathon series, which was like a Doom knockoff kind of with its own flair. They did Myth, which was a RTS type game. They did Oni, which was like a third-person game before they did Halo. But I never played any of those. I mean, I've played a little bit of the original Marathons just because of my interest in Halo, but when Bungie came to the scene with the Xbox original and they put out Combat Evolved, I mean, they were quickly one of the biggest studios in the industry. Nobody had ever seen a game like Halo, especially on consoles. And through the early 2000s, Bungie was one of the biggest names. I mean, there was nothing like Halo Combat Evolved. And then when Halo 2 came out with matchmaking and online and the couch co-op and that level of storytelling and spectacle and AAA development, it really just felt like nobody had anything near what Bungie had. They felt so far ahead of the game. They pretty much pioneered matchmaking as we know it today. And then by the time Halo 3 came out, and it was this perfect pitch fever, like fever pitch. What's that term I'm trying to look for? Like, the fever had reached an all-time high when Halo 3 came out. The whole world was waiting for that game. The marketing, like everybody who was on PC, PS3, Wii, 360, everybody was looking at Halo 3 at that moment because there just hadn't really been a video game release quite like that one when Halo 3 came to the scene. And when Halo 3 came to the scene, it was still like, hey, there's still nobody else who's really done anything quite like what Bungie's done. Obviously, Gears of War had come out a year prior, and it had dethroned Halo 2 as the biggest online multiplayer game on Xbox. But, you know, Gears of War is a different type of game, you know, but Halo kind of still pioneered the first-person shooting and the online multiplayer. And then just a couple months after Halo 3 came out is when Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare came to the scene and kind of finally gave Bungie some competition after 6+ years on the market, with just nobody having anything like it. But then many people went over to Call of Duty, but then people like myself were never able to really get into Call of Duty, and I just kind of stayed pretty loyal to the Halo games. And then Bungie went on to do Halo 3 ODST, which had, you know, a firefight horde mode, and it had a campaign. There was no multiplayer. And then they released their final Halo game in Halo Reach in 2010, which was this awesome send-off to the series, kind of bringing it full circle. Leads right into Halo Combat Evolved, had this full suite of horde mode and campaign and customization and multiplayer, forge mode, and they kind of left this amazing legacy for Halo behind and decided to move on to something new. And we didn't know what they were moving on to. We didn't know why they would possibly want to leave Microsoft and give up Halo for this unproven thing, but they were very certain that's what they wanted to do. And we all kind of waited to see what their next project would be. We knew 343 was taking over Halo. We didn't know what that would look like. Would Halo be good? Would it be bad now that it wasn't under Bungie anymore? And we did end up getting Halo 4 in 2012. So we were already experiencing Halo from another company before we got Bungie's next project. And as the years went on, it leaked that their next game was called Destiny. And as details started to come out, it was another sci-fi first-person shooter with this big, like, orb in the sky that's called the Traveler. And it's been giving people power and protecting them, but nobody knows why it's there. There's all these new enemy races. The game's going to be online only with like some kind of MMO element, raids and stuff like that. And I know for me back in the day, I was disappointed because I wanted single player narrative driven campaigns from Bungie because that's what they did so good with Halo. But they promised that Destiny would have that as well. It would just be online and have this online component. And I remember playing the beta when Destiny 1 came out and being kind of blown away by just this new world from Bungie and like being able to play online with other people. That was really cool. Game came out, played it, and at release, Destiny 1 was very light on content. The main campaign was it wasn't weak from gameplay, but it was very weak from the story and characters. And I kind of dropped off, and then I ended up coming back at the end of Destiny when all the DLC was out. And then Destiny 2 came out 3 years later, and that launched with this really awesome campaign. I really loved it. And then as the years went on with Destiny 2, they kept releasing new content, but then eventually they vaulted the content, and they made things like the original 8 to 10 hour Red War campaign that launched with Destiny 2 unplayable. So you kind of have this, I'm kind of painting this picture of like Bungie kind of felt perfect up through the end of Halo. I mean, I know they had their problems and they definitely got on a lot of people's nerves, and them and Microsoft were always going back and forth. But even up till Destiny's launch, they were pretty much proven to just be a huge success. Destiny did have that lackluster campaign when it came out, but people really clung to it and still love Destiny. And then as more expansions came out, the Taken King, they really turned it around. Their first raid came out. I remember that being a huge deal. People were watching. People play the raid on Twitch for like 10 hours trying to beat it. And there's just been a lot of hits and misses as Destiny has went on. Destiny 2 launched successfully. They had this partnership with Activision, but they missed a lot of the targets they promised Activision they would meet with expansions. There's supposed to be a Destiny 3, and then eventually they just pulled away from Activision and they became independent. And then we got some of the best DLC for Destiny 2 while Bungie was independent, and then eventually things kind of went tits up and they were purchased by Sony for $3.7 billion with the promise, with the promise of a new game, which would be using their old IP Marathon. And the new game was going to be this multiplayer extraction shooter, kind of like Escape from Tarkov, but it was supposed to be more accessible. They showed us a teaser for it, I think 2023, and then we really got more this year. And when the game was shown off, people thought, man, the art style looks really awesome, and we know Bungie's got some of the best gunplay, if not the best gunplay in the entire industry, but I don't know how I feel about extraction shooters. I don't know how much content there is here. People were kind of not sure about it. Then some alphas went out. People played it, realized it only has like 3 maps at the beginning. There's not a lot to do content-wise, and the game's supposed to release in September. It's a paid product. It's not free to play. You already have Sony's history with live service and Concord, how that came and went. And other games that are in production, like Fair Games and other things like that. Of course, Helldivers, which was successful, but not first party. But all this is to say is that while Bungie was my favorite developer back in the Halo days, and even as they haven't been my favorite developer, they've done a lot of good. Destiny is a huge franchise. There's a lot of people who are deeply invested in it. It was very successful at different points. It's at its lowest point now that the final expansions come out. And basically where we've arrived, I know I just talked a lot there, but I'm kind of bringing this up to speed so we can discuss it, is where we've arrived now is that Destiny is worse off than it's ever been. Marathon has a lukewarm reception. Extraction shooters aren't that big. People are sick of live service. And the one huge redeeming factor about Marathon, other than Bungie's amazing gameplay, was, damn, this art style is sick. It has got to be one of the coolest new art styles we've ever seen. And it recently came out about a week or so ago that art is completely ripped off and stolen from another artist, from an artist online, a Twitter artist by the name of Anti-Real. And we're not quite certain to what extent. What we know for certain is that they literally copy-pasted direct art from this person, put it directly in the game, to the point where even Anti-Real's signature is still on the art that's in the game. So it is directly copied. They've admitted to copying the artwork and needing to remove it. But we don't know. What we don't know for sure is is Marathon's entire visual style, its entire art design, is that based upon the stuff that was made by this artist? Was it extrapolated from this artist's work to make an entire art style for the entire product? Or is it just different art pieces that need to be removed and the art can still be retained there? Either way, whichever one's true, we are now facing about 4 months left to the launch of Marathon. It has had lukewarm reception. The alphas were not the best received. People were upset that there's not more content, that there's no proximity chat, which is a giant component of these extraction shooters. And now there is a ton of bad PR around the fact that they blatantly stole art from an artist. They admitted to it. The project can't even be shown right now because they are not certain what's plagiarized, what's stolen, and what's not. So they have to fix that project, and then they have to decide if they're going to launch in 4 months, or if they are going to delay, or if they're going to cancel. And this is all laid against the fact that since Bungie was purchased by Sony, their profits, the profit margins have been down. They have missed all their expectations for, I believe it was Beyond Light and the Final Shape expansion financials. They've missed all of that. They have lost money. Sony has had to help them. They have had giant layoffs. Sony's taken part of their people out of Bungie and put them into Sony. Sony even took one of their incubation projects, which was Project Gummy Bears, which was another live service game that they were working on, a MOBA type game. They took that from Bungie, created a new studio with some of their talent, and Bungie has basically brought no profit to Sony at all in the several years they've been with them. They cost $3.7 billion to acquire. Marathon is in shambles. Destiny is worse off than it's ever been. And I'm sure this is obvious to everyone listening, but Halo stayed with Microsoft. So all Bungie brought with them was Destiny, Marathon, and Myth and Oni, which are old IP that don't really, generate any revenue or any cultural awareness as they are right now. So they're in the spot where Sony has spent a ton of money on Bungie. They're not making any money. Destiny's worse off. Marathon's in a terrible place. I'll just let you take it from there first, Michael. What are your thoughts on this situation?
It's crazy, man, because like I said, whenever I first, I was high on Marathon when I first saw it, and I was like, oh man, this looks so cool. Like the gunplay looks great, and the art style was one of the biggest things. I was like, man, it just looks so stylish. I love the colors. I love everything. And then it turns out that like you said, symbols and everything, like completely down to the very minute details of the art is completely copied. And it just kind of kills it for me, because I'm like, how much of this, like you said, how much of this is original? How much of this is just copy and pasted? And it's really just kind of killed my enthusiasm for the game, because, I mean, I'm sure the game's fun to play. I'm sure the gameplay's good. But it just kind of makes it hard for me to be enthusiastic for the game whenever it just seems like a majority of it, like its whole visual identity is just kind of plagiarized. Mm-hmm. Which, I know we don't know exactly how much of it is, but based off their reaction, did you watch the live stream where they were talking about it?
Are you talking about after the plagiarism?
Yes.
Bits and pieces. They looked very demoralized.
Oh man, dude, yeah. And I saw the reports where they were like, morale at the studios in free fall, and it's basically at an all-time low. Mm-hmm. Like I just don't know, man. I mean, I know Bungie's not going to close most likely, but if they would cancel Marathon, I mean, can they afford to even do that? That's the thing. Is what I'm saying. It's just Sony bought them 3 years ago, and they have really, like you said, nothing to show for it. And it's just $3.6 billion they bought them for.
Yeah, $3.7 billion. They have generated no profit at all since. So Sony has been helping them operate for 2 years or whatever it's been with no profits. There is no Destiny, to our knowledge. I mean, it was only like a year or so ago that Bungie said they weren't working on a Destiny 3 at all. But like, to our knowledge, there's no Destiny 3 in progress. Destiny 2 basically wrapped up its entire storyline with the last expansion. Now they are bringing out some smaller type expansions. Yeah. One that's like based on the lore, and the other one that's based on like a Star Wars crossover. But they're like, yeah, it looks cool, but they're not as big, they're not as ambitious, and they're not going to cost as much as prior expansions. So there's less money to be made there. and the amount of players Destiny 2 has is really low, and most people just feel like the final shape kind of concluded what they needed out of that game. So I feel like Destiny 2, you're really not going to get that back to its peak because it's done. So if you don't have Marathon be a hit, then you either create a Destiny 3 or a new game, which would require more time and more money from Sony and more trust to get to that point. Especially something like a Destiny 3 would take probably at least 5 years of development and $500 million on top of what they've already wasted on Bungie. But then again, if you cancel Marathon and you either close Bungie or make Bungie like a shell of itself that just keeps Destiny 2 running, either way, it's a giant loss of money. If you close them, you just threw away your $4 billion. And if you leave them on Destiny 2 running maintenance, I mean, they might be able to make like little bits of profit running maintenance on Destiny 2 as people continue to engage with it, but not in any way that's going to matter or make it worth this purchase. They'll never make back their money. So, you would think that at this point, you would just barrel along with Marathon and hope for the best, but there's a couple things to consider. One, you have to fix this art thing, and let's say you fix that, then you're in the middle of terrible PR. It's already been mentioned that the marketing for Marathon has been dropped. There was supposed to be this huge marketing expensive push in like a month or so that's now been dropped. So how are you going to market it? How long will it take to fix the art issue? How will you alleviate people's concerns there's not enough content? How will you make a mainstream audience interested in an extraction shooter? How much is this going to cost at launch? They said it will not be free. They said it will not be full priced. You would assume that means 40, but maybe they were thinking something like 60. It would not surprise me if Bungie and Sony were thinking something like that, but that's supposed to launch in September. Luckily, GTA did move out of the year, and Borderlands moved back, so Borderlands comes out weeks before this. So September would have been a decent launch time, but people didn't think the game seemed ready to launch already. And then now there's the art issue and worse PR than ever. And then I can't remember who mentioned it, but one of Paul Tassi or one of those big people at one of those big publications heard, maybe it was Jason Schreier, heard that for Marathon to be the success that Sony wants it to be, it would have to be in the top 5 NPD game earnings for this year.
No chance of that happening. No chance.
And there's no chance, man. There's no way. Like, even if it all turned out well and launched smoothly, like, it's an extraction shooter with no real PvE, no single player live service after all the bad PR, like, there's just no way. So I don't. What do you guess is going to happen, and what do you think should happen? Like, as far as delay, cancel.
Yeah, I think it's definitely getting delayed. I'd be shocked if it still comes out in September at this point. I think I mean, could you really fix that much in a couple months? I don't know, but they need to at least delay it till, I don't know, January, February, maybe, if not more. But my gut tells me they're just going to delay it a couple months. But also at the same time, though, that's the thing, man. I don't know. Do they cancel it? Because based off things I've heard, I mean, it sounds like the studio's just kind of like they just don't really know what to do about this. They sound. I'm sure a lot of people there are ready just to kind of call it quits. I can't speak for them. But based off what I've heard, it just sounds like morale's completely dead, and I'm sure there's not much hope there of this. I mean, even if you take out all this stuff with this art scandal and the plagiarism, if you take all that out and everything was going perfect, it was still an uphill battle to get this to be as successful as it needs to be.
Yeah.
And then you add all this into it, man. It just feels like it's a losing battle.
And it makes you wonder how much like the highest executives really even care, because they got their money anyways.
Yeah. See, that's the part that really angers me. Was all this is I've heard that management at Bungie's been a mess for a while.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, that's the thing is like if the executives at Bungie have already received their payday, and they got a massive payday when Sony acquired them, it's like, okay, so if they release the game and it fails, like, and Sony either closes Bungie or like kicks a bunch of people out, do they really care? Like they've already got their money. Like it doesn't matter. Yeah. So, and you mentioned like a couple months, like if they could delay it like to December or January, like maybe, but if you get even like, if you're getting close to GTA once you get in next year, like GTA is May. So even if you launched in March and you had a successful launch with a decent player base, like that player base is going to leave you in swaths in like a month and a half to 2 months after.
Well, that's the thing, but they need apparently they need like a Fortnite level player base. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just,
I'm
not trying to be negative, but I just don't see a world where that happens. And
it just seems like it could be a successful game at best, but not that successful, you know?
No. But if you need to just have a dedicated player base and, to have a good amount of, of consistent players, and sure, that's possible, but I don't know, man. Like it just feels like this whole art. I mean, and it's like we said earlier, we don't know exactly the extent of how much is plagiarized in the game and how much of it is stolen. But based off, I've looked into it a little bit. It seems like it's quite a bit. Yeah. Because even the symbol, I mean, all over the maps, all the symbols and iconography and stuff is straight up copied from that person's art, like beat for beat.
Yeah, it's ridiculously egregious. Yeah, it's egregious because a lot of times it's like somebody takes artwork and alters it, but they didn't even alter it. They just put it in the game.
It's a lot of it's just copy and paste it. It's crazy, man. And honestly, this isn't the first time this has happened with Bungie, though. I think I remember something with Destiny with stolen art.
This is the fourth time.
Yeah. See, man, that's just.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I hate that this is happening because I don't want to see any studio, fail like this and get, have to go through all these allegations and everything. But man, it's just. Did you really think that this was never going to be noticed?
Yeah, they say that it's somebody who worked there and then left like five years ago, but like that's a really easy cop-out answer. Plus, it got by everyone else.
Yeah, so I know. It's just, I mean, I can't speak to exactly how everything works because I'm not a game dev, but I just don't understand how that fell through the cracks so much for so long too.
Yeah, it's tough for me because like. On one hand, the name Bungie, like my eyes, my brain, my heart, like I see Bungie and I think of some of the best gaming memories I've ever had, like some of my favorite games. So it'd be sad to see them close, but I'm also like, what is Bungie today to me? Like none. The only person that I can think of who still works there that I remember vividly from the Halo days is Jason Jones, which is one of the co-founders of Bungie, but he is never in the limelight. He's the one that's always mentioned, like they always mention as away on like a vacation or a getaway or something like that.
Yeah,
and you never see him. So, I mean, it's not like he's really. I haven't seen much of him, so I mean, I don't even think of him when I think of Bungie, anyways. And I'm not that big a fan of Destiny. I was never going to play Marathon. What about you, Michael? In all honesty, is there any chance that you would play Marathon still?
I'm not going to say there's 0% chance, but as of right now, I've lost interest. It just, I don't know, everything's kind of added up. It's not just the art stealing. I talked to you about this a while back, but there were already some concerns with aim assist with PC, with the mouse and keyboard, and how it was almost like people have an aimbot. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be playing against those players. That doesn't sound like a good experience for me, and since I play on a controller. So there was stuff like that. And then as I looked into it more and read more, I was like, yeah, it does sound like there's kind of a scrissity in terms of content, which I kind of expected, which is sad that that's the expectations anymore. But I think it's 3 maps, but I think they said there's a 4th one that's going to come out shortly after launch or something. I think the gameplay, I still think it looks fun to play. It looks like something I could enjoy playing, but I'm probably not going to be on this day one. If it comes out and, everybody's like, oh man, this is great. There's actually more content than we thought. It's really fun to play and engaging. And there's a really good content roadmap laid out and everything. Maybe I can be enticed to jump in. But as of right now, my interest is really, really dipped.